guys here in a second, because what you guys need to know about CFACT is that I believe their official motto is that the best things in life are crushing your enemies, seeing them driven before you, and hearing the lamentations of the alarmists. I believe that is on your website, or maybe it's only on Climate Depot. But to me, I just happened to come across that this week, and I thought it was a good way to introduce the topic because we have our own viewpoints on it. But when you look at the people that have invested so much of their time and energy, and frankly, the very nature of their souls into having a successful COP, this is now 2 in a row that was held in a petrostate. The last one was in the United Arab Emirates. This is in Azerbaijan. I believe, Craig, you had shared with us that the president, the head of this COP, the guy in charge of it, gave a speech where he said oil is a gift from God. So,
right, yeah.
Yes.
Ilham Aliyev, he's a president actually of, had a day where they brought in all these world leaders. As I mentioned, most of them were from the developing country, but the one that was invited to open it up was Azerbaijan because they were the host country. And he was the one who said that he really took him to task. It's actually worth Googling, looking at his speech online, because he basically was unapologetic. I mean, their country gets, I think, 60% of its national economy or revenues come from oil production. Ilham Aliyev called fossil fuels a gift of God. It's extremely important. Very interesting when you go to this conference. Our hotel was probably like a half hour or so outside of the town, and we'd take our taxi in each day, and you'd see fields of just nonstop oil rigs pretty much all the way there. And shamelessly, or proudly, I guess, the government of Azerbaijan had these welcome to COP29 signs right in the midst of a bunch of oil rigs. We took pictures of them because it just caught our attention. They, just like Al Jaber last year in Dubai, who also defended the oil industry that country has. These were 2 oil execs that were chairs of both last year and this year. And really, it's kind of 3 years because Egypt gets a lot of its energy, too, from fossil fuel use. So it's actually 3 years going that this is the case. Why this is occurring? Good question. I think it all stems from money. These are countries willing to put up the bucks for this sort of conference, because certainly I can see why some of the Greens like Al and people like Al Gore are really upset about this. I mean, it's it's kind of like having something to stop smoking held by Philip Morris or something. It's complete hypocrisy, but it's something they continue to do.
Yep. Marc Morano, you were, you CFACT in general, really, I mean, like Craig said, you've been to how many of these, 26 out of the 29 or something like that?
I've been to 21 out of 23, if you count the UN Earth Summit, which was 2002, is when I started going to these summits.
Right. And so actually you sent me a picture of some of the people that you had met. I mean, one of the specialties of CFACT, for one, they are completely fearless. They are actually fun and funny. And so they embrace the idea of being the contrarians walking around, the heretics that are in the church, right? So that's kind of their deal. So tell us a little bit about how that was. I mean, you guys just have a blast talking sense to people who believe nonsense.
Well, this is important. We went through Istanbul, spent a day or two there on the way to Baku, Azerbaijan. And I can say, and I think Craig will back me up, and we also went with Peter Murphy, there was not a single cab driver, hotel worker, restaurant worker, anyone we met in museums who, when you mentioned Donald Trump or showed a MAGA hat, just didn't light up and basically say, Donald Trump, give thumbs up. They loved him. I'm talking all over the place. And it got to the point, I think this is the picture you're referring to, the UN staff of local Azerbaijan residents lit up with, and there's the picture. We had MAGA hats, which we handed out, and they went nuts. These are the young staff right outside the green zone and at the COP29. And they were so excited, they started taking photos. And Peter Murphy, who was with us, they gave him his own office in the back, even though he wasn't supposed to be there, because they were just so grateful to even put the hats on for a brief moment. Donald Trump is seen as like a global, I think to everyone everywhere, Donald Trump is just seen as the anti-establishment against this whole globalist thing. And I think especially in Turkey, which is a nationalist country, especially in Azerbaijan, which is a nationalist country, I think they just eat up the message and the image of Donald Trump.
So yeah, I mean, I find it amazing that you ran into all, well, Donald Trump fans, but you guys were among the few, quote unquote climate realists there. Although, maybe there's signs that, well, we read that Substack piece about Roger Pelkey trying to go to Blue Sky and at least have a rational conversation about climate, and they immediately, like I said, attack him like white blood cells attack a wound. But the idea that there's going to be, well, I should just say, it seems very encouraging that the last two COPs especially have been very discouraging. And the fact that this COP happened immediately after a revolutionary election in the United States, which was the worst possible news, it couldn't be worse than going into this COP. Plus, it's in a petro state. What are we still going to have COPs 5 years from now? Is this even going to still be a thing?
Well, it's a real quick to answer that directly, because of Donald Trump's election, because no world leaders came, and because this was in a petro state, Al Gore and a whole bunch of, Al Gore separately, then a whole bunch of including the former UN Secretary General and others, signed a letter basically saying we need to ban anyone, because they were upset about the oil as a gift from God from the Azerbaijan head, that they want to ban them from future conferences. They're treating it just like Blue Sky, social media, and everything else. They want to ban any dissenting voices from government officials attending, which I think someone was saying, yeah, what a great idea, because you're going to get even less participation, less impact, less chance that these COPs would even continue. So I'm all for the censorship at the COPs. Throw out anyone who speaks even a fraction of sense, and that's the best way I can think of to derail it, because then you'll have less countries even interested in participating.
Yeah, you'll have countries start withdrawing from Paris, like we're going to do. You'll have, it's like, if you're not going to allow us to be there, if you're not going to allow us to be part of the rotation for conferences, then why are we participating? Get out of the UNFCCC. And it's not just that one faction is calling for bans of these countries, which will make it more insular, more, like you say, a blue sky, an echo chamber. But others are also now saying these conferences have run their course. They no longer make sense. Even some of the developing countries said, why are we here? What is it? Was it Togo or no, it's Papua New Guinea that said, we're not going because it makes no sense.
They're a complete waste of time.
Yeah, a waste of time. Other countries have said the same thing. Former UN IPCC officials have said these no longer make sense. I think I saw one person say it's not fit for purpose. Yes. Now, my suspicion is that there's a lot of bureaucrats that enjoy these conferences. It's a big junket. They get to see new places. They don't spend all their time in meetings. They go to cultural things. They eat nice meals. None of them are eating bugs. So they're still going to lobby to have these conferences. They're going to say it's an important thing. Oh, it's an important thing. We've got to keep this going. We got to save the planet. But it will really all be about, I need my yearly vacation. They don't pay me enough from the small government to go on real vacations, but this one is a free junket the government sends me on.
And what you're saying, Sterling, can be borne out, because I would honestly say most of the delegates I met do go there to enjoy it. And the UN's a little sensitive of this, because a few years ago in Spain, when they had a COP there, we filmed them all eating Burger King. And we thought it was the Impossible Burger, that they must be having, food that was just, somehow earth friendly or meatless or something, because that's what the UN touts. It wasn't. We talked to the actual managers, and we then had somebody dress up as a cow walking through there talking to the delegates, just as a little stunt, because we exposed that and they only allow certain vendors in the blue zone, which is where all the main delegates are. And they allowed Burger King to serve real meat. It looked and then there's side events saying ban meat. At this particular conference, they did have menus within the conference part thing this time that they said all the foods were looked at. We actually were emailed menus that actually the carbon footprint of all the foods being served was being looked at. And I think that was to deflect from the criticism that they've got of this. But it is becoming like a complete vacation. You can actually go to the green zone now. They have a gift shop. Now that's crazy.
They have merch.
You
They
can
have,
get
they
a
have
gift
merch,
shop to
top
get
29
your
merch.
yeah. You can get your gifts now for attending the conference and mementos, so that you can remember to go there. That never was the case 10 years ago or anything.
Wow. Well, first of all, Craig, cow lives matter. I don't know why you're so mean. And second, we actually have, thanks to Marc Morano, we have video evidence of what you were talking about at the food court at COP29. So, Andy, can you play meat on menu video, please?
Another report here from COP29 in Azerbaijan, the United Nations Climate Summit. Speakers yesterday, very prominent and high-profile speakers, talked about meat rationing and a meat tax and how the danger that agriculture and farmers were doing to the climate summit. We've even had UN reports saying that cow emissions are more damaging to the planet than the entire transportation sector, planes, trains, automobiles combined. Well, guess what? At this UN climate summit, you can see right there, they're serving beef hot dogs. They're serving burgers. I have the menus here. Meat is here, and I have not noticed any kind of meat tax additional on the food.
Mark, I love the way I really admire the way you played that straight, like you're Dan Rather or something. I don't know how you did it, but well done.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes deep. I checked out all the menus. They had sit-down restaurants. They had food court. And one of my videos actually showed the line for the buffet with the beef bourguignon and all the chicken. And it was overflow. And then I panned over. You could see the vegan-only food court. And there were like 2, 3, 4 people in line and the entire thing. There was no interest. And as Craig mentioned, they even sent out an email like reminding people, hey, we have vegan offers. This was after, they got a lot of negative publicity when there was opening day, when they called for the global meat tax and to come after farmers. And, it's a very serious issue because remember, again, our election in the U.S. gives us a reprieve. But John Kerry had said last year, American farmers are next in the net zero restrictions. They're coming after 2 things with agriculture. They're coming after the nitrogen-based fertilizer, which affects the high-yield agriculture. And that's what the Netherlands farmers fought against. They're also coming after methane. And this is why you have cows, you have Bill Gates changing their diet, trying to capture their emissions from their butt and their burps. And both of these things are to create meat rationing globally. We know this because I think it was Cristina Figueres, the former climate chief, who said we should treat meat eaters like they did smokers in the restaurant, put them in their own section in the back corner and try to stigmatize them. They want to come after meat. And I just think the irony, and Craig mentioned in Spain, they had the same thing, Burger King, long lines. They're not willing to walk that walk. And that's an important thing to show people. And it's so absurd because I don't think the rank and file delegates even pay attention to what the UN actually wants. They're just there, as Craig said, to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
I long for the day. I long for the day when restaurants set up a meatless section of the restaurant because it's going to be the smallest section of that restaurant, unless it's a completely vegan restaurant, is the meatless section. No one's going to go to a Golden Corral or, your favorite steak place. We're going to stigmatize all these meat eaters at, some pick your favorite steak place, McCormick and Smick or something. And, we're going to stigmatize them. We're going to set aside a section just for them. Yeah. The section is going to be like 90% of the restaurant.
Yeah. Well, if you're super hungry at the COP, you should definitely get into the vegan line because it'll be short and you can eat in 2 minutes.